Hello there, people of the world. Now, today I'm going to have a very special video for you by Lauren Southern doing a debate about gun control. Very amazing debate. She totally annihilated this guy, Jeffrey Robertson. I don't even know who this guy is, but he was totally condescending, rude, and she handled it well and she annihilated him. He really lost the debate. And I gotta say that I agree with everything Lauren Southern says. Pretty much. I can't think of one thing I disagree with her about in this debate. But anyways, before I show you the video, it'll be at the end of this video, but you know, Rowan made a video on this channel a while ago talking about how he changed his mind on gun control. Okay, he used to be really pro gun control. And I was never pro gun control. I didn't need to change my mind. I was always against it. I was always for the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. This is very important. You know, because how are we going to defend ourselves without the right to bear arms? You need to be able to stop the bad guys. Now, the bad guys, they're going to get guns. Regardless of your little gun control laws that you want to put in place, okay, the bad people are going to get guns. That's what you guys don't understand. All you gun control people. Look, they can buy the guns illegally. Hello? Illegally. They'll get the guns, and then the good people who are obeying the law, they won't have the guns to protect themselves. This is like so obvious to me. Like, and also the other thing, gun control laws, really when you think about it, these gun control laws, they are bad for poor people. Because the poor people, they can't afford all these fancy, rich security systems. You know, they can't afford to have a safe room in their house. Like all these rich people in their mansions, they'll have like a safe room, a panic room, you know, where they can just escape off to, wait till until the cops can come. But the poor people, they don't have this stuff. That costs way too much money. But you know what the poor people can do? They can just buy a gun and protect their family. This is why it's a very ethical and moral thing to promote the Second Amendment. Because if you're against that, if you're against people being able to defend themselves and defend their families from all these criminals, then you could be assigning them to a situation where they're going to be vulnerable and they're going to get killed. So that's very evil when you think about it. I'm glad Rowan changed his mind on this issue. But like I said, personally, I was always for the Second Amendment. But anyways, let's get into this video. I want you guys to see Lauren Southern destroying this guy. This is an awesome debate. Check it out. Here it is. And you know what? Before I do this, look, this is all the reason I'm for this issue on gun control. I mean, I'm against gun control. It's because I want to live forever. Rowan's the same way. He realized that in order to live forever, it's going to be increasing your odds of living forever if you can just have some guns to protect yourself. Yes, I get it. Guns are dangerous. Guns are dangerous. But you know what? It could be more dangerous not to have a gun. Think about that. Have you considered that thought? Have you considered that thought? Now, I want to share with you guys a quote by Donald Trump. As you know, me and Rowan are both voting for Donald Trump. You see it right there. Make America Great Again. And here's a quote of Donald Trump on guns. He said, "The right of self-defense doesn't stop at the end of your driveway. That's why I have a concealed carry permit, and why tens of millions of Americans do too. That permit should be valid in all 50 states." So he's saying here is, in all 50 states, we should have the right to conceal carry guns to protect ourselves. And these people with concealed carry guns, they could be protecting if there's ever a terrorist attack and the guy's shooting innocent people, the concealed carry people, we can save their lives. That's right, we can stop terrorism with these guns. It's a very important thing. But anyways, I realize that in the ideal world, we probably wouldn't have guns. We wouldn't have any guns. We could just obliterate them all. If I could just press a button and destroy all the guns and they'll never come back, probably I'd do that. But that's not the reality. The reality of the situation is that we already have lots of guns in this world. It's like a Pandora's box that we've opened. And once you've opened the box, it's like it's too late. You cannot stop it. At this point, it's better just to let guns be available. Give some background checks, but let them be available to the law-abiding citizens of the planet, of America. Because if you try to take away the guns, the criminals are still going to get them. The criminals are going to have storehouses of all these guns, and they're going to sell them on the black market. So you got to think about this. Okay, here's the video.
Joining me to discuss this, we have from New York the author and political commentator Geoffrey Robinson, and from our central London studio we've got Lauren Southern, a commentator at Rebel Media. That's a conservative online magazine. Good afternoon to you both. Geoffrey Robinson, let's start with you. Is it time to take another look at the Second Amendment?
It's been time since the Second Amendment was passed. Of course, it's well overdue. I mean, how many more mass shootings do we need? How many more victims of gun violence do we need before the Republicans get off their ass, stop doing the work of the NRA, who is in the pocket of the gun manufacturers, and change the legislation to protect people? I mean, Paul Ryan, what a disgraceful jerk he's turning out to be. Last night, when he came onto the well of the House, he said that this sit-in was a publicity stunt. I mean, the man is completely tone deaf, typical of the Republicans.
Lauren, what do you make of that? I mean, after all, the Second Amendment was written in a very different environment, in a very different era.
I'm not a fan of Paul Ryan, but I do agree with him on this one. It is a publicity stunt. It is purely virtue signaling. Even the Democrats themselves, like Chris Murphy, have admitted that none of these amendments would have stopped the shooting in Orlando or in San Bernardino. Not one of them, even the ones presented by the Republicans. They wouldn't have done a thing. They are just bureaucratic, more laws, and in fact, some of them are very biased. Even the ACLU have said that the ones that include banning people from the terrorist watch list and the no-fly list are discriminating against people who have been through no due process whatsoever. That is the ACLU, who are certainly not NRA supporters, who are certainly not massive gun fans.
Yeah, Geoffrey, interesting point that, because that's something a lot of people have said, is if you're on a no-fly list, you shouldn't be able to own a gun. Lawrence says otherwise.
No. Ms. Southern is completely wrong and tone deaf like Mr. Ryan. Let me tell you about Ms. Southern. I love it that she comes to my country and preaches no gun laws when Ms. Southern is a Canadian, where they have very, very strict gun laws and where the gun laws work. We in the United States have 50,000 gun deaths a year. Ms. Southern in Canada has fewer than 310. So, Ms. Southern, here's my advice to you. Go back to Canada, get the gun laws changed there and obliterated, and then come back on Sky and let us know how well that worked out for you.
Let's let Lauren Southern have a chance to respond to that. So it's quite an accusation, Geoffrey.
Oh, I would love for the gun laws to change in Canada. If I were an individual that were in America in a mass shooting, the first thing I would think is, I wish I had a gun on me. I wish I were able to defend myself. The gun is an equalizer. As an individual, if I were attacked, I would have many men who attacked me I couldn't outpower. I would want a gun on me to defend myself from rape, from being murdered. If I was in a mass shooting, I would be a sitting duck. As much as you can love and trust the government, they still have to make that call. They still have a time to get there. And if there were someone with a gun in the Orlando shooting or the Paris shooting, any of these places, these mass deaths could have been stopped. Even the Eagles of Death, the concert that was playing in Paris, the singers said that I wish there was someone in there with a gun so that this could have been stopped. I will try to change the laws in Canada, and I wish I were in the States right now, and maybe I'll go there someday so that I can have the right to defend myself from both people who want to attack me, do me harm, and from a tyrannical government.
Okay, it's a good point, but on the other hand...
no, it's not a good point. It's nonsense. It's utter crap. It's not a good point at all. It's fallacious nonsense. It's rhetoric. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to apologise for your language. We are, of course, on live TV, so let's just remember that when we're discussing
I know, and it's still crap.
Please explain to me how one of these amendments would have stopped the shooting in Orlando.
I will gladly explain what gun control does.
No. What the amendments that are being...
No, listen. Just listen. In your youthful high school exuberance, you are very naive. What gun violence
You
does,
can call me names,
what gun laws do is prevent gun violence. See, one of the things
Really?
Miss
Worked in
Southern...
Paris.
It did really. There were guns in Orlando in the
because
club.
there were tons of gun laws,
but
and
there were
people still
guns.
died.
There were guns in the club in Orlando. The guards were armed. Obviously, you've never carried a gun. Some of us who served in the U.S. military
carried plenty
have
of
carried a gun.
Okay, Jeffrey,
and I can tell you something.
Jeffrey, let's get back
no,
to the
let me
subject
finish.
here.
Let me
Jeffrey,
finish.
I'm
When you
sorry,
have
Jeffrey,
when you have
let
lots
me
and lots of
finish
guns in a room, when you have lots and lots of guns in a room, what you get is panic and more deaths. Miss Southern doesn't have a clue what she's talking about.
Okay, Jeffrey,
Right.
less of the personal attacks, please. Let's keep it on this subject. Lauren Southern...
It is on the subject. She's talking nonsense.
But less of the personal attacks, please. Lauren Southern, just to change tack slightly here. Now, what we saw in Orlando, it was, frankly, the kind of assault weapon you don't need to defend yourself. There are over 3 million of those in ownership in the US. We don't need assault rifles like that, do you, to defend yourself? Surely the law should be changed.
The thing is, it's an equalizer, right? If the government has
No,
a
it's
weapon
not.
that they can use against the people, I mean, you can say, no, it's not, sir, but that's not an argument. You saw during the Chicago riots where you had Asian store owners defending their stores from being burnt down, and the only way they did that was with high caliber weapons, and they were one of the few peoples that didn't have their stores burned down. You saw it during in Ukraine when you had the government sniping their own people. The people who were disarmed, they were fighting with Molotovs against sniper rifles. You need to be able to defend yourself from a tyrannical government. And with most of America seemingly thinking that Trump is the new Adolf Hitler, I'd think that liberals would want to be arming themselves to defend themselves from a
nonsense.
Fourth Reich.
Utter nonsense.
Okay, Jeffrey, Jeffrey, the clock is against us. Let's just talk now about
let me
the
stick to
sit-in.
the issue.
Okay.
Darshini, let me stick to the issue. For
Briefly, if you
example,
will.
what Miss Southern neglects is that the overwhelming single group that suffers most from gun violence in America are women. Battered women, women who are subject to domestic violence. Women suffering from domestic violence are 8 times more likely to be murdered by their partner if there are guns in the house. Over the past 25 years, more intimate partner homicides with guns have taken place than all the other deaths of weapons combined. I mean,
Jeffrey,
you know, it goes a lot further
Jeffrey,
than the
that's a very
no-fly
valid
list.
point.
Are you
Can I just
suggesting
interject?
banning handguns?
Okay, Jeffrey,
I'm
just interject
suggesting
there.
taking handguns away from men who have domestic order restrictions against them, yes.
Jeffrey, just to interject there, you make some really strong statistical points there. But on the other hand, 8 years of an Obama administration, we haven't seen gun control being
Well, of course not,
tightened up.
because the
Who's
Republicans
making the
will
laws
not
there?
bring it up. The Republicans refuse to bring it up because they're in the pocket of the NRA, and the NRA is in the pocket of the gun manufacturers.
Can
the
you explain to
Republicans
me-
instead have tried 300 and some odd times to obliterate Obamacare. They've never once put gun legislation into the House. They won't. They're afraid. The NRA has them in their pockets. They're puppets, and they're
Can you explain
jerks.
to me why in Chicago during Father's Day weekend, 13 people were killed, 53 were injured by guns when they have some of the strongest gun laws in America? Can you explain that to me?
They don't have strong gun laws in America because any idiot can buy a gun.
In Chicago.
Any idiot can buy a gun from a gun show or on the internet, and there
Yes,
are
and
no
they can buy it
background
illegally
checks.
as well when they're banned.
But
Well,
back here
not
in,
if
back
not
here
if
in the
not
UK.
if you have background checks, and not if you
No,
have.
I'm saying they can buy it
strict-
illegally.
No,
They can buy it
You know,
illegally.
this
There's no
is
background checks when buying things illegally.
this is precisely why you and the Libertarian Party in Canada and the Libertarian Party in America have no credibility. You are completely disregarded as a
These are
political
personal
force.
attacks, sir.
a
These are personal attacks,
Jeffrey, I think
not
that's a personal
arguments.
view, but let's just move back to the subject because the clock is against us. Now, we've all seen those pictures of Democratic politicians staging that sit-in. It is an election year. Are we going to see this being a focal point in this campaign in the year ahead, do you think? Lauren?
Sorry, I didn't hear that question.
I said we're looking at these pictures here of Democratic politicians staging that sit-in. Is this going to be a focal point of this year's election campaign?
I do think it will be a focal point. People are going to be focused on who can defend them and who is going to allow them to defend themselves as well. And I do think that you've seen the gay community as well. Massive gun sales among the LGBTQ community have been going on the past week since Orlando. I think you're going to see people more focused on anti-terrorism, which will be more on the pro-Trump side, and more people focused on their freedom to have weapons to defend themselves. Because unfortunately, the government couldn't stop those 49 people from being killed. Someone in there could have stopped it. And I do think that this will be a focal point. Gun sales have skyrocketed every time there's a mass shooting, every time there's a terrorist attack.
Lauren,
people are going to be
just a
focused
yes or
on the
no,
right.
Lauren. Who makes gun control law in the US? Is it the government or the NRA?
It's the government.
Jeffrey?
Nonsense. It's the NRA. Of course it is, because they've got all the money to make sure that there is no legislation passed. And the Republicans are such cowards, they won't go up against the NRA. They need the NRA money. The fact is, gun legislation works in Canada, Miss Southern. It does not work in America because there is none.
Those two are very, very different situations with very different populations.
Lauren Southern,
No, actually,
Jeffrey
they're
Robinson,
not.
You are never going to agree on this. We really appreciate you
Never.
both making your points, and we do apologise to viewers for some of the language used during the course
I
of our
don't
discussion.
apologise for my language at all.
But thank you all for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Tell me what you think. Did you agree with Lauren Southern or not? You know, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, dude, guns are dangerous. Yeah, they are dangerous. But that's precisely why we need the guns. Is because criminals will have those dangerous guns. So we need to be able to protect ourselves from the terrorists with the guns. Because the terrorists don't obey the rules. The terrorists will keep on getting those guns, and the criminals will get the guns. The only solution at this point is that we can have the guns to protect ourselves. So this is part of my personal eternal life strategy. And I hope that you're trying to consider what your strategy is to live forever. You got to be safe. You got to protect yourself. You know, because there's a lot of evil people out there in the world. So, you got to think about this stuff. Living forever is possible.
Those 50 guys that got killed the other night, they were victims, man. Every damn one of them, I'll guarantee you, was a liberal Democrat, all right? And they died because they didn't choose to defend themselves. I'll bet you every damn one of them wishes they had a gun while they were laying there waiting to be killed. I bet you every damn one of them does. I bet you everybody in that club supports the Second Amendment tonight, okay? All right, look, everyone should be allowed to defend themselves. Nobody, no matter what their beef is, should be able to go in and mow people down without being worried about getting his ass shot off, all right? Because you know what? You start shooting at me, by God, I'm returning fire. And that's how it goes. Because that's the way Americans do shit, okay? You don't fucking like it, and I don't fucking care, all right? My rights don't require your approval. And that goes for everybody.